Hello everyone, so in this video I just want to explain a couple of tips about how to actually do a quiz on Canvas. What is the information that you have, what are the things that you can do and cannot do, and so on. Alright, so the first thing you have to do is log in on Canvas and then to access the course that you need to do. Once that is done, you can just go and access the test or the quiz. Now there's going to be two different ways to do so, is actually three different ways, sorry. You can find it on the home tab most often, all right? So in this case I have it under a tab called exam. You can also find it on your to-do list over here on the right, okay? And you can also find it under the tab assignments, and you would see upcoming assignments. So in this case I'm just going to start it by clicking on my to-do list. So it is important that before you start the quiz, before you start doing it, that you read all the necessary instructions, all right? When is it due, how many points it is, how many questions you will have, until when can you actually do it, and in this case, for this quiz, I have also a time limit. A lot of times there are instructions as well, so you can read it. So for example, please read the details of the exam carefully before starting. Information is provided above. Once you start, you will not have the ability to stop the timer, and once the timer runs out, it will submit whatever answers you have selected automatically. So in other words, in this case, it's a multiple choice quiz. And what happens is once the timer runs out, then your answers are submitted automatically. If you did not select something, then it will select it as an empty question, all right? And therefore you need to be careful. So make sure after answering each question that you actually select the right option. But I'll go into it once we actually enter the quiz. There are some cases, and I put a note here in this case, there are some cases where the answer is not written on the multiple choice options, but rather it's an image, for example. And that happens a lot on my math or statistics course or finance courses. In those cases, if your internet is a little bit slow, it might happen that the image does not load properly. And so all you need to do is there's going to be a little square with a red X showing that the image did not load. So all you would need to do is to right click on the image and then load it. Right click on the image and then select the option reload image. All right. So in this case, what I'm going to do now is to actually start the quiz and over here, take the quiz. Here we go. So in this case, there's some new information over here. Now you're going to have all the options, all the different questions there. All right. There we go. As you can see in this case, most of the answers are actually images. And therefore, sometimes it happens that they don't load properly. And in those cases, if an image does not load properly, all you need to do is to right click. And then you would click reload image, and it will normally fix the issue. All right, so going back to the top, what information do we have? There's the information of when did we start the exam, all right? Over here on the right, you have a list of all the questions in the exam. This exam, for example, has 32. This quiz has 32 questions. Once you select an option in a question, it will change for the check. So this is really good to check at the end of the test to make sure that you answer all of them. If there's a question that has an interrogation mark, all right, let me just give you an example by selecting just some quick answers. All right, here we go. If you notice, all of them are answered except question 2 over there, so that means I did not actually answer question 2. So it's a great idea to come here before you actually submit the exam. Then you also have underneath that information, you have how much time left do you have, all right? How much time left? In this case, I still have 1 hour, 58 minutes, 42 seconds. If that number is starting to, I don't want to say freak you out, but let's say if it puts you nervous, you can hide the timer. All right, you can just hide it. Okay, and for all of them, okay, what you notice is, for example, over here I have 1 hour, 58 seconds, 20 seconds. All right, so if I go on a different tab, for example, all right, if I go on a different tab and I decide to do something else, for example, let's imagine I'm checking my Google Maps for whatever. In that case, all right, if you notice the timer does not stop. Okay, the timer does not stop, and this is an important detail. Once the timer starts, it will not stop for any reason. So be careful with that. When you start the exam, make sure that you have the necessary time, that no one is going to bother you with something that must be done, because this timer will not stop, and I cannot reopen it later on. I cannot say, go back and say, oh, if you come to me and tell me, oh, there was a problem, blah blah blah, I could not finish the exam, and there I need more extra time. I cannot do that. Once the exam closes, I cannot do anything. All right, so please be careful with that. Now, what else can I tell you? For most quizzes as well, you can get out. All right, you can get out, as you can see here. I just got out of the exam. I'm gonna go back, resume quiz, and if you notice, the time kept on running. Okay, so it's important that you don't get out of the exam, because otherwise you might actually run out of time. All right, if it's a multiple choice exam, which is, to be honest, what I tend to do the most for a variety of reasons, but one of the main reasons is at the end of the exam, all right, all you need to do is submit the quiz. It says here, if you have any unanswered questions, it will tell you right here. But in this case, I'm going to just say, yes, I want to submit. And there we go. In this case, I got a 7 out of 100. Not a great score, I would say. It shows my first attempt. It shows how much time it took me and the score that it took me. And there you go. And then it will tell me the correct answers, the incorrect answers, and what was the correct answer, and so on. And in many of my quizzes, students can do a second time, and I only keep the highest grade, all right? So all you would need to do is go back, find the assignment, and take it again. But for this one case, I cannot take it again, because this is a one attempt only quiz in this case. And that's it. That's how you actually do a quiz and all the necessary information you need. I hope that it was clear. And make sure, obviously, one thing, make sure that you always check the time if your quiz is timed. Be careful with that. All right, and that's how you actually do a quiz on Canvas. Be careful with all the little details indeed, because sometimes you only have one shot to do it. I would say the most important things to be careful with is make sure that you read all the details before you actually start, and be careful to select all the necessary answers before you actually submit, because once you submit, then you immediately get the score and there's no way of fixing it. All right, so thank you very much. Let me know if it was clear on the comment section below, and if you have any recommendations to improve the video or other topics you would like me to cover as well, leave a comment. Thank you very much, everyone.